What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Legit Fishing. Hey, I hope everybody's having a good day. My name is Dustin Holland, and welcome to Legit Fishing. Today we're going to talk about spinning reels. A couple videos ago, we talked about bait cast reels, and today I'm going to show you my picks for my favorite spinning reels. Spinning reels, like bait casters, there's a million of them out there, but this is one area that I tend to kind of spend a little bit more. I don't buy very cheap spinning reels, but you don't have to buy high-end spinning reels either. That mid-price point, you can get a lot of great options in that area. So we're going to start off with one of those. This is an Garcia Revo X. And this particular one is in the 20 size. It's a little bit smaller than your standard go-to 2500 size reel. But this thing right here is as smooth as butter. I mean, it is a really good spinning reel, and retail on this reel I think is right around 120 bucks. You could probably find it cheaper than that, but that's what retail is. I typically throw a 2500 size. That's what most of the ones that I'm going to show you today are. There's a couple 20s, there's one 3000, but the majority of the spinning reels that I have are in that 2500 size category. But this reel in that 20 size, I use this for a lot of smaller baits. Like, it's great for Ned rigs, it's great for little tiny swim baits. You know, a lot of smaller stuff like you might throw on live scope or Panoptics. This is a really good reel for that. It's got an awesome drag on it. And like I said, I mean, it's just super, super smooth. But I've only got one or two of these. I'll show you what my favorite reel is here in just a minute. But talking about spinning reels, it's going to be really hard not to talk about Shimano Vanfords. Now, this is a Stratic. They don't make the Stratic anymore. The Vanford actually took its place, but you can't go wrong either way. They do make two different models of the Stratic. This is the CI4 Plus. There's another one that I believe is the FL or something along those lines. I don't have any of those, but I do have this CI4. I don't have any of the Vanfords because there's another Shimano reel that, as great as this reel is, I would pick the other one over this reel. And that's surely because for a $250 spinning reel, yeah, it's smooth, but I can tell just over time that this reel is kind of going downhill. Now, I've had this reel for 5 years. So have I got my money's worth out of it? Absolutely, but I feel like for that amount of money, it should last longer than 5 years because I've got cheaper reels that are still going strong that are older than that. But if you want to spend a little bit more money, the Vanford, the Stratic CI4 Plus, they're a great option. The drag is amazing on these. I will give them credit for that. This is one of the best drags I've ever used on a spinning reel. And in this 2500 size, I do a lot of finesse fishing. I throw a lot of light shaky heads. I throw a lot of smaller worms, light Texas rig, you know, micro jigs. In a 2500 reel size, to me, that is the perfect size to be able to throw those baits. You've got plenty of line, you've got plenty of, you know, muscle with inside the reel, and your drag is plenty enough to where you're very rarely going to break a fish off. And if you'll notice on all of these reels, I have braid to a fluorocarbon leader. I'll change that leader up sometimes. There's some occasions where a mono leader is, you know, suitable, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to throw braid to a fluorocarbon leader, and every single one of these reels has 20-pound braid on it. I know a lot of people like, you know, 12-pound braid, 10-pound braid, but I'm gonna bump everything I've got up to 20. This is 20-pound vicious, no fade braid. On this is 20-pound Sunline Siglon, and that is it's a tiny diameter for braided line. I used to love this vicious, but I've actually got another line that I am going towards now, and that's the Suffix 832. I believe the majority of these reels I've got for you have this no fade braid on it, and it is really good line. It's wax coated, and sometimes that causes some issues on tying knots. But back to the reel, like I said, this $250 reel, there's definitely spinning reels that are much higher than that, but I personally am going to spend my money on another Shimano reel that's less than half the price of this one. And that reel is this. It's the Shimano Sahara FG, I believe, FJ. This is also a 2500. I have also had this reel for 5 years, like the Stratic, and it is just so much more smooth. It has stood up amazing. It's a little bit heavier. That doesn't necessarily bother me. There's another reel that's above this. This reel is $89.99 retail. The Shimano Noski, I believe, is $110 retail. The only difference between that reel and this reel is that reel has some extra seals in it. Personally, I have saltwater reels. I'm not taking this and fishing any saltwater, so that doesn't make a big deal to me on having those extra seals. And like I said, for 90 bucks, yeah, that's a good bit more expensive than some of the bait casters I showed. But man, I do not think that for the money you can beat this reel. I've got one of those Stratics. I've got about 8 of these Saharas, and I absolutely love them. The drag is perfectly fine. Is it as fine-tuned as the Stratic? Probably not, but I break very few fish off because my drag gave up on me. You can sit there, you can fine tune it. The one great thing about Shimano is they've got this giant knob on top of their reels. It is super easy. If you're fighting a fish and you need to tighten or loosen your drag, it's nothing to take your hand and flip that drag and set it to where you need it. But like I said, Shimano Sahara FJ 2500, this is my workhorse. This is what I do almost 80% of my spinning reel fishing with, and I absolutely love these. I gave you some Piscifun reels yesterday. I'll talk about this one. This is the Piscifun Carbon X 3000. This is, I think, the only 3000 size spinning reel that I use for bass fishing. I've got some 3000s that I use in saltwater, but for bass fishing, this is the only one, and that's because profile-wise, it's not very much bigger than a Shimano 2500. Your spool is bigger, which is, you know, great for fishing deep. I actually use this reel on my drop shot rod. And here in North Georgia, some of these highland reservoirs, during the wintertime, we're drop shotting fishing 80 foot of water. It makes me feel more comfortable to have more line on there, but a 2500 is plenty enough line. But this reel's really good. It's super smooth. Like I said, it's a little bit heavier. But the price point, MSRP on this is 80 bucks. I do know that you can find this reel cheaper. Sometimes on the Piscifun website, which is where I'll have a link for this reel. But you can find it cheaper on their website. You can find it cheaper on Amazon a lot of times. But even if you're finding this reel at $60, which is the normal price that you can find this reel at, I still think it's worth the extra 30 bucks to go to the Sahara, just because the Sahara is a lot lighter. And honestly, you know, this reel's smooth, but you can feel the reel. In this Sahara, it's smooth, and I mean, you can't even hardly feel turning the handle. It's just an awesome reel. But if you want a cheaper option, this is a great one. Like I said, it's a little bit heavier than some of the other ones, but it also has a thicker bail wire. And I haven't had any issues of it. I've caught a lot of fish on a drop shot on this reel, and it hasn't given up on me yet. The drag setting is a little smaller than the Shimano, but this knob on top is a little bit more pronounced. So it's also not, you know, too bad to reach up there and adjust it while you're fighting a fish. But this is the Piscifun Carbon X 3000. I've got another reel, and this one doesn't have any line on it. I actually just bought this one. But I've been trying out a lot of 13th fishing stuff here lately. I really like the Meta Series rods. I don't have any of their bait casters, but I've got a couple spinning reels, and this one, I've got another one of these, and this reel stands out, you know, kind of in that area of the other reels. This is the Architect 2.0. Again, it's a, you know, a 20 size reel instead of a 2500, but honestly, I would compare it as a 2500 size reel because it's almost identical to these Shimanos. Your line capacity is just slightly smaller. At 12 pound test, this one will hold 105 yards, and at 12 pound test on this one, it will hold 140 yards. So you got a little bit less line capacity, but you're not talking much. And when you spool these with braid, you're getting way more than that on a spinning reel anyway, because the line size is so much smaller. But this reel is super smooth. It's smoother than the Carbon X, but it's still not as smooth as that Shimano Sahara. And this reel, I think, retails for 110. I think that they may be discontinuing this reel as of February 2024. I've seen them on sale a lot of places, and actually I bought this because I got it for dirt cheap compared to that $110 price point. It's got the big drag set on top. It's smooth, and you can definitely tell when it clicks, but it's a little bit harder to turn than the Shimano. But if I had to recommend two of these spinning reels to anybody, I'm going to go back. Again, I've made it obvious, but this is my number one choice. My number two choice is going to be this Garcia Revo X. It is, I honestly think that it is probably smoother than this reel, but it's not by much. Again, a little bit smaller frame. A lot of times on a smaller frame reel, they seem to be a little bit smoother than a larger frame reel. But they are both just excellent reels, and this one is still $30 more retail than this Shimano. Like I said, I'm going to have links to all of these reels down in the comments. They'll be all to Tackle Warehouse except for the Piscifun. That'll be the Piscifun's website. Not affiliated with any of these. They haven't sent me any product. They don't pay me at all to say any of this, but when it comes to reels, I think Shimano is the best in the game. Daiwa, I've owned some Daiwa stuff. One of my saltwater reels is a Daiwa. They make really good stuff too. The Tatula line in those is really good, but again, they're a little bit higher price point. For your money, this is the reel to go with. And let me know what kind of reels y'all like, what kind of spinning reels you use. Drop a comment down below. I appreciate a like and a share. And as always, I'll see y'all on the next video. Bye.